Hello all, welcome to study 86 of the Solving Studies to Improve Chess Calculation series. This endgame study from today comes from the famous British chess composer. He was born in England, Thomas Rayner Dawson. He was considered the father of fairy chess. Fairy chess is another version of chess where we have many new chess pieces and even new conditions, new rules. Not that he has invented it, but he made it extremely popular because he produced innumerous chess problem compositions of fairy problems where there were new pieces and new rules. He produced more than 500, and he even was also a promoter of it because he was the founder editor of the Problemist. What it was a journal on the British Chess Problem Society, and he produced the Fairy Chess Review, another journal, and he even also edited the problem page of the British Chess magazine. So he not only produced many fairy problems, but he also made the direct mate, self mates, end game studies like this one. So he is very famous, and I thought it was interesting also to bring an end game study from him. If you are curious about fairy chess, well, you can, of course, do it a bit research on Google. Here I can show you just, for example, two of the pieces that he made extremely popular. This one, it's a queen inverted, is the grasshopper, and the feature is it can only move with a hop over another piece. So over here, it can hop to this square or capture this other strange piece that I'm going to give the name in a while, because it needs to hop above the other piece. The other, he made it very popular. He was not the inventor, but because he made the first problems using these new pieces, he becomes very famous about it and made them extremely popular. The other one is the nightrider, and the feature of the nightrider is it's a knight, but it can move to any number of squares in the same direction. Like for example, if it comes to this square, it can go here, here, or here. And so as you can see, the range is a bit not this one, sorry, it's a bit strange, but after a while you get and so you can imagine ourselves trying to solve problems where the new pieces are going to have a completely crazy. For example, if I want to capture this one, it seems obvious, but because I need to keep the direction, I can't. So it's really interesting. So these were the night riders, and this is the grasshopper. There are a lot of them, a lot of new fairy pieces. Of course, Dawson also invented some fairy pieces and some new rules, new conditions for this variant, the fairy chess variant. And if you are curious, well, you are going to open a Pandora box searching on these ones. Okay, let's get back to our aim over here to solve this one. This is, I think, a bit more simple than some of the previous ones. Nevertheless, very enjoyable. And as always, I suggest you watch the guide if you haven't, so you are better prepared. And after the countdown, I will come back with a solution. And here we are. Let's start with the first right move. Well, over here we have a dilemma. What is the best? Because, of course, these two are the most obvious. Well, I think this is pretty simple if you think a bit ahead. And the right one is, of course, knight d4, check, exclamation mark. Well, to solve this one, we need to think, okay, if we are going to win, we are going to need to control these two pawns, and I am going to find a way to catch them. And of course, the first thing we notice is if we are going directly to a race, like for example, moving the king away from the pawn promotion, well, we don't have tempos because two tempi to promote our pawn are two tempi also for black to promote one of their pawns. So here we need to think immediately, okay, I need to sacrifice my knight for one pawn and then fight against the other. And if you think on that and you are aware that the pawns will promote at the same time, well, then you need to choose what which is the most dangerous one. And if we are going to play in a queen versus pawn in the game, of course, this one is the most dangerous because this is a bishop pawn. And if it's on the seventh, either here or here, we already know that black can go to the corner. And when the queen takes the pawn on the seventh, it's a draw. So I think the first thing to remember is we need to select which pawn to attack. And of course, we need to attack the most dangerous one, which is the f pawn over here. Uh, and the rest will come into place very fast. So let's see it now. Well, okay, this is the correct move, of course. We sacrifice for the pawn, and after the king takes the knight, we move the king away to the side where the king is, of course. So we are not checked when the black pawn promotes. And of course, this is going to be really easy. The pawn promotes to a queen, and then I can check on this diagonal. The king moves away. I take the queen, and 1-0 for white. Let's go back just for explaining why the other one doesn't work. Okay, we attack the king with check and the pawn. Now we sacrifice, of course, for the deep pawn. We can't allow both pawns to stay alive. So now we move the king away to promote our pawn, and here is the problem. Because black here, of course, won't promote to a queen, because this would end up in the same way, but instead moves the king. And now I can't win against this pawn, because our king is too far away, so it's impossible to force the win. If you don't know, well, review your queen versus pawn in games, because this is a very basic and fundamental one. You need to understand that if we are fighting with h pawn, f pawn, c pawn, or a pawn on the seven of the black side, of course, it's going to be a draw if the king is near and our king is far away. So here, well, the queen can try to grab the pawn, but of course, after a while, as you can see, we are going to use now this technique of going to the corner, and now the king can't approach anymore. And if the queen takes the pawn, it's going to be a stalemate draw. Our king is not in check, and of course, it's on the corner. So all this comes to this dilemma. The problem was just to decide if you're going left or right. Well, these dilemmas we have in life, which path is the correct one. I hope you also have found it, and I see you in future studies. Bye bye.